Okay, everybody, it's me again, Mitch Allen, Green Turf Solutions, and We Can Facebook page. I took a little detour to go down and where I found those grave sites on last Monday, I believe it was. The archaeological people are down there, ground penetrating radar in the whole site, and it's a African American grave site from back in the 1920s, probably through the 1950s or something. But this orange flag I'm walking up on, I'm assuming is part of the route of the Florida Southeast connection. And I'm gonna try to do this zoom in, or zoom, on down. There's another stake down there just before it gets to the pavement. And then that intersection is the Kenny Harmon, Ronald Reagan, and goes out to Poinciana one way, on into Loughman the other way. But I don't know how they're going to get this through here, because this marking doesn't make any sense from a utility contractor standpoint. So I have a feeling that this deters, and they're going to bring that pipe around. I have a feeling around that grave site. I have a feeling that's why that site got cleared in the first place, and why there's an interest in that piece of property. But once again, if that's the case, they failed to do the right surveys to even figure out where the right place is. This says CLFSC HD, it's either a D or an O, station 106 plus 00. So this is a station marker. Not sure, I would think it's the actual line of the pipe, because if you look on down the street, you can see another orange flag, and then way back in the background you can vaguely see to the left hand side of the screen, make sure I'm on that, you can see the corner of a backhoe and a big pile of dead trees that they yanked out. That's in the very general vicinity of where the track hoe got stuck. So I'm gonna walk on down that way and see if I can figure out how to get back in there and get a better shot, because we have stopped them from cutting the trees down with the machinery, other than they're using a chainsaw, which I promise you they're refueling out there in the wetlands. But the destruction still continues, because they're cutting them down by hand with a chainsaw, but then they're allowing the track hoe to go back in there and pick them up. But at least they are using planking, so they're not actually driving right through the water. But anybody that's ever run equipment knows doggone well the stuff leaks, and the big companies don't really keep track of the leaks like they should. But here's another stake. This is station 10800. And I know this definitely has to do with that pipeline, because it's right in line with where they're working in the wetlands. You can see where they've surveyed and they cut a little path through the weeds. Let me see if I can stop and zoom in so that you can see that little path, and there's actually a orange stake. You probably can't see it because I can barely see it. And I'm sorry that I jiggle around with this phone, but I'm not a professional videographer or whatever they call that. Just a guy that cares, man. We got to protect this for our children and grandchildren. And heck, I don't plan on dying anytime soon, but it's a culvert pipe that runs across 1792 from wetland to wetland. And the archaeological people that I met down the road, very informative, and they gave me some places to go look up some of the grave sites, but I did want to verify that that's not Native American. It's African American grave sites, and they still don't need to disturb it for any reason. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back there, but let me see if I can zoom in on this. There's the orange stake that I was talking about. If I can walk back in there. Ooh, a little wet. tall grass. Hope there's no snakes. But you can see the path where they've walked. Oop, let me pan back out. You can see the path where they've walked, and there's the stakes. There's another one up there. And then you can see the path they cut through, surveying. And then you can kind of see the pile of trees. Now I'm gonna get back in my truck and pull on up there to show the pile from the side of the road of the destruction, yanking the trees out of the wetland, which is one of the biggest parts of the filter. You know, those trees and plants have a way of sucking all the contaminants out of the water and making it back into clean air. You know, we need to all spread the word on how important the wetlands and the trees are, because they are the filters for everything. And they're just going to cut them all down and yank them out of the wetland while dumping or leaking fluids and gas and diesel all into the wetland. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, back in the truck I go. So let me pause this. Okay, I'm back on the road. Luckily right now it's not real busy. But let me see if I can get in a position. You can see the planking, and you can see all the destruction. And they're on site, so I'm not going to walk out there and have them come arrest me. But there's the planking, and there's one of the red, white, and blue flags with all the streamers on it. But the destruction of our trees and our wetland. And I'm going to try to mosey on down this road. I'm just north of Hart Road. This is part of that site. It's close, really close, within 1,000 feet of where they stuck that backhoe. And I'll come back up here maybe this afternoon and do a little more videoing where I can maybe actually get out there and give you a better perspective and a better look of the destruction. Here's that pile of what was once cypress trees and the filter for our water and air. And there's another pile on the other side. And we are at Hart Road in 1792, right in front of Aviana subdivision. You know, and this is Rockford Access Road. I think it's 1432, but my memory may not be serving me correct. But this is where they've been parking, where I showed them unloading the planks. And it's actually Rockford Access Road 07. And more of the destruction. That machine that the guy is on over there, that's the machine that was stuck, that says to keep back 500 feet. And undoubtedly he was the guy trying to get it running, and they're still trying to get the thing running because they tipped it up on end so far, it messes up the engine. But there's the pile of trees that they have pulled out of the wetland, and believe me, just on the other side there's a pile just as big. The destruction that's going to continue to go. And it really is frustrating, these blacked out signs, you know, because I believe that's wetland number 30, but of course they don't want the public to know that. It's in one of my other videos, and that's the entry of the wetland they were in. And they have totally destroyed it, and not one person has come out yet to do any cleanup of what they leaked in there. You know, but you can see all the planking they put in place now, you know, what they should have done to start with. But cypress tree after cypress tree just totally wiped out. And, well, I got a hoe in action in the wetland on planking. There he is. So they cut them down by hand, but they can come in here and pull them out of here with a tree or with a hoe. Let me pull off the road a little bit further. I'm gonna get out and do some walking, I guess. Get my exercise for the day. Trying to walk back down to the actual site where the first track hoe got stuck. And then I'll walk back up towards where the hoe is working. Just to give everybody an idea of how much further they've moved. And I really don't understand, just because they put them on planks, that gives them permission to continue destroying the wetland. That's what they're doing. Because this is where I was when the first one got stuck. You know, well, actually, I'm exactly where I was, because there's that marker that I showed in one of the videos. He was stuck right out there. And then over on the other side of the planking is where he got stuck the second time. You know, his boom was hung on that tree that's kind of leaning on an angle there. He was stuck right in that area right over there. And now, I don't know if you can see it, but they've planked it all out, and the track hoe's about maybe 100 feet from where I'm standing. And they have cleared and cleared and cleared. And I don't know what he's doing with the trees, but I didn't think he was going to be allowed to go back in there. But, and if you notice, there's no silk fencing. There's no stormwater protection fencing. They call it all kinds of different things, curtains and different stuff, but they're not protecting anything, because these trees are important to the wetland. And many of them are cypress trees, some of them are oaks, some of them are maples, but they're just destroying it all. You know, and I don't know if they're coming through and going to take down all these stumps, but it's horrible. But I guess somebody gave them permission, you know. If you got the money to buy the permit and get the permission, you can destroy anything you want, any way you want to. As he beats the planking into the ground. So I guess they'll just keep building the planks and continue. There's a guy back in there. I don't know what he's really doing, but let me pause this, see if I can walk down here and get a better view of the overall. This is where I walked up the other day, kind of trying to scope out native Indian burial sites, because this is all owned by Providence. It shows on the county property appraisers, but here's one of the trees they took down. But this shows on the property, the Polk County property appraisers, owned by ABD, which is the development company that developed the Providence community. And they have just come through and wiped out every tree. You see it all. You know, I don't know how well of a view, I'm just holding it above my head. Trying to get out here so I can get a view of the trackhoe. But it's a little hard to get through some of this underbrush. Whew, these doggone palmettos are tough on the legs. But you see, they just came through and laid them all down on the ground. And I don't know, you might be able to see the top of that backhoe. And these are all scrub oaks that they're just wiping out. And they're steady. Sorry, I'm standing on the top of a tree that's down, trying to show the view of the destruction. And it just goes on and on and on, and they're going to continue until they go to the other side of the road, which I'll go down and videotape some of that now. So let me pause this again and try to get off of what. It's really nice for them to put up them no refueling signs, but I sure do wish they'd quit blocking off one side of them. This is in one of the other videos. Some of the craziness is people drive past this every day, but you see they leave that stand of tree where nobody can see them. You know, you're driving past them at 65, 70 miles an hour, texting and driving, scrolling and driving, and you drive right past the dangers that can kill us all. And believe me, over time it's going to create disease, illness, and disorder, all because somebody gave them permission to contaminate the filters that keep us all alive. here's a continuation of what I was just shooting. I'm just a couple hundred feet down the road where I can actually stand on the road right away and show the destruction of the trees being torn down, just ripped out, you know. And these are trees that have been here forever. I mean, I've lived in this area since 1978. These trees have served us well, but I guess their life expectancy was over. You know, mankind just isn't so kind anymore. And they just go in and clear cut it all, man. And they're not gonna make this into a wood product or anything. They're just gonna probably pile it up and burn it. But look at it. And it goes on and on and on. And I'm gonna try to pan down the street or zoom in down the street. You see that white car down there? That's my next stop. And you can see, hopefully you can see those two guys. That's the two guys that are cutting all these trees down. It breaks my heart to see the destruction of something so important to us, all for the profiteering of gas and oil. You know, our leaders of the world, you know. I hate to go political, but what is the Bush family? And who is Dick Cheney? You know, Bush is oil, Dick Cheney, Halliburton, head of fracking. Like I've said a bunch of times, if we don't take on the fracking industry, we will never stop these pipelines. And I don't want to go negative because we're doing some good stuff, but we shall not forget who's funding these pipelines, who's funding the legislation that gets them approved. It's the fracking industry. And who is fracking? The oil industry. So you got the Bushes and Cheneys in it, and I'm not saying that Hillary and Trump isn't part of it. They're all billionaires raping our land, raping us. And I would almost bet you any amount of money, there is federal money in this, and there is, in my opinion, there is no such thing as federal money or government bailout. That's we the people's money. We bailed them out, and we're probably paying for all this, as well as most of the fracking. We're just unaware that it's our money being spent. Why they build an economy when we really need to grow an economy. That's the way things work. You know, you go building an economy, there's some more planking, and I'll guarantee you he's gonna go down here and take a right. And they had no intentions of having to bring all that planking in, but because of the job we've done, they're having to bring planking in. Well, he's either going to this site, yep, there he goes, right into the Rockford access, I think it was 07, bringing in more planking so they can continue to go through our wetlands. But back to it. You know, we got some big boys to take on, and I wish I had the answer, but guess what? Together we can. All right, let me get on down here to the road and start the next one. You know, there they are. You know. And you know, this one's been in here before. You know, the no fueling sign, the stop signs, the party favors, the very expensive rock on the side of the road. This is wetland number 34A. And I can't read the wetland across the street, but this is continuing. We got to take on the fracking, because stopping, well, and get this, let me get this. It's a Texas truck. So it's an out-of-state worker. You know, for those who want to say, I'm taking away jobs. Actually, the out-of-state workers are taking away jobs from, like me, a local boy. I wouldn't do this work even if they paid me, because I know of the hazards. But there they go, back into the woods. Let me see if I can zoom this in and figure out how to catch them. There they go. Going back in the wood with their chainsaws. And I'm once again right across the street from Providence gated community, you know, where they're gonna cross the road to avoid going right in front of the rich neighborhood, you know. Providence is a very nice community. My wife actually works back in there. There's some very nice people that live in there. And I'm really not attacking those guys that are in there, you know, they got a job to do, or the people that are in there doing their job cutting down these trees because the profiteers tell them that's what you got to do. And they created this economy where people are starving, can't even feed their families. So they're taking anything they can get, any job they can get. And it's shameful, you know, because these guys are probably making $8 or $10 an hour and don't even realize that they're destroying something that sustains their life, all for money so they can feed their family. So as I go past Providence, you know, the $1 million homes, they're going to cross the road and they're going to be back on the west side of 1792. And back behind all those mounds of dirt is what used to be called the mud hole. So there's more wetlands back there. And this is on the east side is Loughman Elementary. And this pipeline is going to go right past it. And in a previous video, I showed this builder's home where I first started questioning the Rockford Access Road. This is Rockford Access Road 08. No refueling sign. Wetland number 36. And then wetland number 35. So he built in the wetland. That's his last name, Chaplin Estates. Very nice, older African-American gentleman. A really great guy. He's a retired builder. And I'm sure they probably paid him a little bit to utilize his driveway for some type of access. But this is all wetland over here. You know, I think he owns part of this. And all of this is 4 or 5 miles from my house. Let me slow down and pull over again and get you another. It's Rockford Access 09. You know, more of the party favors showing the power lines. More of the very expensive rock. And I guarantee you, all these people are very unaware of what all this is about. And you heard the lady that I didn't really interview, but there's more of those party favors that they haven't let anybody know. And if they do, they just call it a natural gas line. But here's Rockford Access Road number 10. Oh man. Here's more of the party favors showing the high power lines. They're actually just power lines. But this is Rockford Access Road number 11. And these are all just within a few hundred feet of each other. This goes back to a big TV tower. It used to be known as the RV Corral. And I actually, because I see some extra ribbons and the gates actually open, I'm gonna walk back there. This is where one of the videos that I shot where they actually went back and destroyed public property or private property, cutting down trees to put up their party favors, you know, on private property. This is right across from Deer Run subdivision where I live. That's our main entrance. Isn't really much of a subdivision, but we call it home. But this is usually locked, so I don't know what's going to happen with me walking back here, but I'll risk it. Because I saw a no fueling thing right there. There's more of the party favors. And they've snowflaked, fenced, caution taped, fenced this off. That used to be the well pipe that went down. This was a community well that fed. This was a little mobile home RV park. And they decided to put up a no fueling sign. Now this is probably 50 feet from the road. They didn't black this one out, but I don't know what these little corner stakes are. But there's gopher tortoises all over these properties back in here, you know, but they'll just mitigate them, you know, and move them out to Holy Paul to the gopher tortoise sanctuary. And I really don't know what these are. It says WS, looks like 99 plus 197 plus 65. I wish I had listened to my parents and studied more in school and maybe became a surveyor. But that's, you know, they cut down those trees to put up the party favors. This is on the other side where I showed the no power meter. That line hasn't been in use for at least 5 years. And they just cut the trees down and just leave them. You know, they don't really care what they do to private property. It's ridiculousness at large.